right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thanks a lot, guys, and thank you for tuning in to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm Rich Walsh. I'll be joined by Chris Mueller in a matter of moments. Give us a call tonight, 412-575-2600. Chris, we're doing something different here tonight, and we're going to start this tonight. We're doing a poll every day. We're going to have a new question, and you can scan a little QR code. You know how you do on your TV, and you scan it with your phone, and you press the little thing, and it comes up with a question. Well, the question tonight is, should the Steelers trade T.J. Watt? We want to hear your votes, and you can see the percentages right now because I tweeted a little bit earlier, and I think you retweeted it. Should the Steelers trade T.J. Watt? 73% right now say yes. Do you agree with them, Chris?
Yeah, I put the question out there more or less in the same words on Twitter today. Should the Steelers be actively shopping T.J. Watt? And the answer was yes. Majority of people saying yes. You could make the argument they should have done it before this past season. He has 1 year left. I don't think we're ever going to see the quote-unquote peak of T.J. Watt again. I still think he's got very good football left ahead of him, but I'd go back to the old Branch Rickey quote to Ralph Kiner way back when. We can finish last with you, we can finish last without you. In this case, it's we can lose in the wild card round with you, we can lose in the wild card round without you. They need to do the Steelers that most precious commodity, which is a big-time quarterback, and whatever draft capital they might get in a T.J. Watt deal, whether that's one first or maybe a second and a pair of seconds from a team, would help to that end. So absolutely, I'd be interested in making that kind of a trade and at least picking up the phone and actively trying to facilitate it. They should not be waiting for teams to call them. They should be the ones calling out to other teams. All
right, there's the question tonight. Should the Steelers trade T.J. Watt? There's a QR code. Get involved here tonight. Scan it, and we'll see what the answer is by the end of it. Looks like it's pretty decisive right now, 78-22 right now. So going back to what you said, Chris, legitimately, what do you think you could get for T.J. Watt? Any more than one first? Could you get two first? Would you try to get like a first and a couple players? Because I think you could pull off a deal kind of like the Rams and the Lions, something that might be beneficial for two teams.
You're not getting multiple firsts for a player who's got only 1 year left under contract and who then his trading team would have to sign to a very lucrative new contract. I think you can maybe get a first. I look at a guy like Von Miller, who got dealt a couple of years back, if you'll recall that. It was like a second and a third round pick, I want to say, for Von Miller. And so he was older than Watt is going to be heading into this coming season. So I think and Watt's a better player, not by much. Von Miller in his prime obviously was a complete monster. Watt is a comparable to slightly better player, and he's a little younger than Miller was. So you might be able to get a late first and maybe a third stapled onto there, but I think people need to temper their expectations. Like if you were to get an early second round pick for the guy and then maybe a mid-round pick coming back, like another fourth rounder or something like that, that wouldn't be a horrible return for a guy with 1 year left on his deal.
Roquan Smith, what did he get? A second, right?
Have to go back. Don't have that one off the top of my head. I recall thinking that the Ravens paid. Yeah, I recall thinking that was too steep a price for his position, and he's made their defense a lot better. I would just think inherently an elite edge rusher is going to and should command more than an elite off-ball linebacker, because one is just an obviously more important position in today's NFL.
All right, Steve just told me it was a second and a fifth-round pick. So, I think it was a similar situation where he only had a year left and they had to work something out to keep him in Baltimore, correct? I'm pretty sure that was a similar scenario.
So I could see second and third, or maybe a first and a third, first and a fourth. Like, I think you should expect to get more than Roquan Smith got. You should expect to get a little more than Von Miller got. He's still a commodity. You could also, the other thing is too, like the other angle to this is, what teams out there might want to trade for him who would be willing to give you, let's just say for argument's sake, the Lions want Aiden Hutchinson insurance, and also they just want to pair an elite guy with Aiden Hutchinson next year and they're willing to sign him back or whatever. Maybe the Lions give you 2 firsts because they expect both of them to be in like the bottom 3 picks of the first round. Okay, like if it's the 30th pick 2 times over, that's different than somebody trading you like the 10th pick in the draft or whatever it is. So you got to look for a team that I think has a need and that is very close to winning now? Because that's the crux of why you're even asking this, is it not?
Yeah.
Like, are the Steelers actually close to winning? No, they are not. TJ Watt is more useful to them as somebody who could bring back draft capital than he is somebody that's going to help them win multiple playoff games.
I think they are close to winning, though. I do.
Based on what?
A couple tweaks. They're 10-8 this year. I mean, a couple more games go their way. I mean, obviously, it's a quarterback-driven league, and they need a quarterback. They need an offense that can score some points. But
other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play?
They make some adjustments. I'm not saying they are a Super Bowl caliber team, but I still think they could potentially win a game or two in the playoffs and at least get the playoffs. I mean, to me, that is a team that's not that far away.
You and I have a very different definition. I think they're very far away from being taken seriously as a top-end NFL team, a team that can actually, like, make noise. Quarterback is ultra important. You kind of made it seem like, hey, you just go out and find one. Well, they've butchered that. I mean, they really have. They've butchered that process for a while now. The Commanders, I think, are just a case study in you can have a lot of other things that aren't great. If you find the right guy and you surround him with good coaching, in their case, not even a ton of weapons because they don't. They have McLaurin, and then they have some guys who are solid but not great. If you find the right guy, though, at quarterback, you can do a lot in the NFL. And if you don't have that guy, you can have a lot of other pieces seemingly in place and still be nowhere near where you want to be.
Yeah, Washington made that jump, and Houston did last year. You need a quarterback. I don't think there's a quarterback in this draft for the Steelers that would do that, but that's a conversation for another day. We're going to take a break. Back in a couple minutes. All right, welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. This is our GMC Tweet of the Night. Here's a tweet from the NFL, the finalists for AP Defensive Player of the Year, and you can see T.J. Watt right there. I think he's odds on second, to finish second in this one, right? Surtain is the odds on favorite. You have Trey Hendrickson and Myles Garrett, who won it last year. So a couple good options there. Not really a great year. No one really separated themselves, Chris, I don't think, this year. I think that's why Surtain's going to win it.
I mean, Surtain was awesome. It's hard for a cornerback to win it sometimes because the best ones usually don't even get challenged. But I think, I watched a decent amount of Denver because I became somewhat fascinated with the Bo Nix experience that was starting to take shape. And Surtain is awesome. Zach Bond had a ridiculous year for Philly after they converted him from an edge to an off-ball guy. But I'll kind of plant my flag where I planted it several weeks ago on this matter. TJ Watt, in my opinion, was not even the most deserving Steeler to be considered for something like Defensive Player of the Year. I thought Cam Hayward had the best season of any defender on that team. I thought TJ Watt, to his discredit, disappeared really for the last 3.5, 4 weeks of the season, and then in the playoff game. I mean, he just didn't show up, didn't register at all. That's not what a Defensive Player of the Year does. So I wouldn't have even had him as a finalist. I think Hayward was more deserving from the Steelers.
That's a good point there. Watt did lead the league in lead the NFL in forced fumbles. I think he had 6. But let's go to the phone lines. Don't forget about our poll here tonight. Should the Steelers trade T.J. Watt? Just scan that, and we'll see what the percentages are at the end of the show.
What the heck's going on with that poll, Richie?
It's 55 to 45 now. A lot of people want to keep him around.
Richie.
I think it's because you're giving him away for a second-round pick.
Stop. It was at 78%. I made an extremely intelligent, persuasive case as to why they should trade him, a realist's case, as I always do, and the people are rebelling against me? What gives?
Let's go to Brian in North Huntington. How you doing, Brian?
Hi. Good evening, gentlemen. Since you guys are talking about getting rid of Watt, I'd like to talk about another off-the-radar subject that maybe no one's talked about yet. Is it also time to switch back to the 4-3? So you get rid of Watt, you get maybe 2, maybe 3 picks for him. So you find some young kid, some young stud to play defensive end on the same side that Watt was on. So you still got Nick Herbig over there. Then you can get rid of Queen also because Cole Holcomb is a better linebacker than Patrick Queen.
Cole Holcomb's coming off a massive knee injury, though. Cole, how can you possibly?
And Brian, you got too many changes here.
How can you possibly believe in Cole Holcomb? Yeah, you're doing something radical at that point that requires, like, they're allergic to the idea of rebuilding. That would require a true reboot of the defense. Highsmith's big enough to bulk up and play 4-3 defensive end, but Nick Herbig doesn't really fit in that role. So you've got Highsmith, Cam Hayward still for one more year. You're drafting a defensive tackle, I would think. That's a pretty radical shift. If Mike Tomlin couldn't make it happen after he had major juice after winning, a Super Bowl or after Dick LeBeau's final season, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, they don't have enough guys on the line right now up front. I mean, Cam Hayward's getting old, but you have Keanu Benton. That's the only young guy they got. Larry Ogunjobi, he's probably going to be a cap casualty this year. So they need to draft one of those guys high this year. Then you would have to draft a couple more. I just don't think it would fit. I don't mind entertaining a Watt trade, but it just depends on what you would get for someone like him. Let's go out to Joe.
He also wanted to move on from Patrick Queen there, and that just highlights. Well, hold on. That highlights another huge issue for this team. They spent real premium dollars on a position that most really good teams are trying to fill in a more economical fashion. Again, I'd point to Zach Bond as a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. Go look at what Philly paid him this year. They didn't even bring him in knowing for sure he would play off the ball, and look at what that turned into. Steelers, when Art Rooney talks, I would love to know if somebody would ask him whether or not the way this season ended has caused him at all, or Mike Tomlin at all, for there to be conversations about the way they have allocated resources and dollars to that defense and whether or not they feel like that is a prudent course of action moving forward in the modern NFL. Short answer, it shouldn't be.
Also, what are you going to do about Landon Roberts? He's a free agent. I think he's the heart of this defense. That's one guy I would try to bring back if you can.
I mean, I'd like to, but how much utility does he have? I'm a big Landon Roberts fan, like the person. I think he's a very good communicator. He's about business out there, which I know Steelers fans understandably love. He's a downhill player, and he thumps against the run. I get that they have Baltimore, and you're always trying to build a team in some ways that stops the teams in your division. But you can also take advantage of a guy like Roberts if you're a team like Baltimore, where your quarterback can pull the ball and then throw it right over top of where he was standing. You know what I mean? So those guys, that's why teams covet 3-down linebackers when they can find one. And that's why they try to draft them, because it's just hard to keep a guy on the field like a Landon Roberts in 2025 for 3 downs when you know he's not going to be able to cover in space, Rich.
All right, let's go out to Joe in Plum. How you doing, Joe?
Hey, how you doing, Rich?
Good, thanks for calling.
And Chris, how you doing?
Good.
I was just curious. Who do you think the Steelers can bring in for George Pickens if they would trade him?
Well, that's another guy. I guess he refuted it. George Pickens. I know a lot of people have been speculating they're trading him. I think they're going to keep him for at least 1 year and kind of a prove-it kind of deal. I don't think they're going to extend him. But the problem with keeping him is you're not going to get anything in return. So I know he can help you win, but who are they going to get? I think they're going to sign one of those free agents, maybe like a T. Higgins, someone like that. There's not many receivers.
They're not getting T. Higgins.
You might not because of the money.
I'd love for them. I think the chances are under 1% that they actually sign T. Higgins, and I would love to be proven wrong.
Yeah, I would too. But there's a couple guys out there that you potentially go after. There was a couple names that I had written down. But
Keenan Allen?
Yeah, Keenan Allen will be one of them. I'm thinking of how
about Darius? How about Mullsy?
No,
how about the Mullsy trade
pick,
deadline news? Darius Slayton.
Yeah, Darius Slayton. But there are a couple options out there. But I think they're going to have to find a receiver and a defensive lineman in the draft. Let's go back out to the phone lines. We got Paul out in Salzburg. How you doing, Paul?
Good. Hey, Rich, my whole thing is what we need to do is everybody's hollering about a quarterback. You got a good quarterback in Russ Williams. You just need to have Arthur Smith set up a program for the man around the quarterback. The offensive line is going to be better next year. Draft this kid out of Boise State, whatever you got to do, get the Gentry guy, and then and go from there. And I think we're going to be fine.
Yeah, I think they still have a major problem at quarterback. I do agree with one of his points. I think the offensive line will be better next year.
Russ Williams, Ashton Gentry related to Zach Gentry. I don't know, distant relatives. What are we talking about here? Russ Wilson ain't coming back, nor should he be.
I think he's going to come back. I bet you. I'm going to say both those quarterbacks will be back next year.
You're on Walsh Island. You're on Walsh Island right now.
We'll see what happens.
Friend. Yes. I would be stunned The only way I can see Russell Wilson coming back is if they make an overture to Justin Fields and want to sign him, but somebody else in the NFL makes him a better offer in a better situation to be at least a bridge quarterback. I think the Steelers were rightly spooked by what they saw from Russell Wilson over the last 4 regular season games and the playoff game. That guy just, I'm sorry, he doesn't fit what Arthur Smith wants to do. There are reports out there that they didn't really see eye to eye and they tried to make it work. All that adds up to, and you can also tell with the way people are talking. Richie, I mean, Jerry Dulac wrote about Fields, and early in the season it was, oh, don't get too excited about this guy. You know, Russ is still the man. Now I'm seeing Jerry in some of the pieces he's writing breaking down the positions saying, hey, Justin Fields really came along. Like, that kind of seems to me to just prime the pump there because Jerry obviously has very good sources within the organization. That seems like priming the pump for the team likes this guy enough, they're going to bring him back.
I just don't see where else Russell Wilson can go. That's kind of what I'm saying here. Yeah, it would be retirement.
Well, why would, okay, wait a minute.
But you bring him back saying it's an open competition. It's a legit open competition.
He doesn't deserve one. He doesn't. He didn't finish the season well enough to deserve one. I'm on board with the toxic positivity crowd now. Like, I don't want to see that guy playing quarterback for the Steelers, like, you know, spewing platitudes while he's unable to complete passes on a regular basis. No, thank you. Like, I saw enough. You don't bring him back if he's got no other suitors. That's a crazy notion. Just let the younger guy who's only 26 years old have 17 games to sink or swim.
Do you think his words are kind of like falling on deaf ears in that locker room? You say the toxic optimism.
When Russ was going off the field after he blew the game against the Bengals with that 2-minute drill, and he's got Cam Hayward like sick with the flu who played a great game. He's going, let's win 4, let's win 4. I think Hayward, if he was being honest, probably wanted to like slug him or just tell him in profane terms to be quiet.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break. Back in a couple of minutes.